I replay it in my head
Mm.
of what I did. And it wasn't even just him either. I done my crime outside Tesco's up the road there, that big massive one where everyone shops. There was kids about when I done my crime, and it was that horrific that an elderly lady, when she saw it, she passed out because of the blood. And that's how horrific my crime scene looked.
La ilaha illallah, revert, I'm getting in routine. I walked out wearing a jewel, but no, this isn't in my jeans. From the streets to the dean.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another episode of Streets to Dean. Me and Nabil, inshallah, will be hosting a few of these going forward because he's unavoidably detained. He's not in prison. He's away on business before he even... So that's the official story. So we're going to... My name is Dowie, a.k.a. Isa English. I answer to either. I'm here to speak to this brother, and this brother's going to be helping me in case I get into trouble. So that's me. I run my own pages called... Al Rijal, which is a men's fitness and development page, and you can find me on Instagram and all the rest of it. So that's me. I've been Muslim for 27 years, and I'm here to speak to this brother about his journey into the religion. And now I'm going to hand you over to Nabil, and he's going to give you about a 7-minute lecture on himself.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Welcome back to another episode. My name is Nabil, and I'm the co-host for today's show, inshallah.
Wa alaikum salam. My name is Abu Bakr. I'm here to be interrogated. And yeah, we should see how it goes, and we'll have a laugh along the way and hopefully learn something.
Inshallah.
Okay, so Abu Bakr, I'm assuming you're a Muslim.
I should hope so.
Okay, so it's okay because you know just a few little clues give it away. So, how long have you been Muslim now, bro?
Since 2007.
Oh, that's a while. Still.
Yeah, so a while, yeah.
Okay, so that's good. So let's well, before we get into that, let's take it right back to the beginning, like not the very moment you were born, but like take it back to childhood. Where do you come from? Where was you growing up? How was all that?
So I'm born and bred in Luton Town, where we're recording today. Growing up, I grew up with a single mum. No dad, he ran away. Yeah, me and my mum, we had a good life. We had like nan and granddad, grandparents, and that like extended family. Yeah, my upbringing weren't bad. It weren't rough. Like we lived on a rough estate. My mum had no money, but she gave me everything she could. Anything I asked for, she got, and she sacrificed herself. She went without to give me, you know. So I didn't have a rough childhood, you know. I had nice things. We grew up. Well, our flat that we lived in was nice. So I don't come from like the street like that. I come from a good family, but it went the other way.
So when you say it went the other way, I'm assuming that you went into a less than straight life. Is that
less than straight life. Yeah.
So what pulled you into that world? Because you're telling me that your childhood was comfortable. Your mum gave you everything. God bless her, and that seemed like a nice memories. So there wasn't any negative memories with that.
No, not that I can remember. Obviously, I got the odd slap if like I misbehaved and
but you're a child
and things like that. I didn't have like brothers, and I liked to roughhouse. My mum stopped play fighting me when I was 8 because I'd hurt her by accident. So I just wanted to roughhouse, and there was kids on the estate.
Do you think when you roughhouse, you think that having
play.
A dad around at that point, that's what dads do, innit?
You know, exactly.
They muck around and fight with their sons and stuff like that.
Didn't have that.
And you didn't have that. So you feel like maybe, I don't know. I don't know.
100%. No, 100%. If there was like
Jordan Peterson on you, but but not having a dad around makes you want to go out and find friends that sort of fill that
void. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. If I had a male figure in the house to do male stuff with, because my mum's a female, she can't do male things as much as she tried. Yeah, I thought.
Okay,
so, yeah.
Just glad can never be too careful these days.
Yeah. So obviously my mum was a female, and she couldn't do male stuff. You know, like things I wanted to do, you know, ride motorbikes, you know, things like that. So other boys on the estate filled that void. They'd ride with me, they'd play fight with me, they'd teach me things, like show me things, you know, and so I kind of gravitated towards that in a sense.
So you grew up in, I believe,
in Courtroom, Lee Grave.
Courtroom, I'm familiar because there's a boxing club, Courtroom Boxing Club.
Yeah.
I coach there.
Okay.
So nice, it's somewhere I know quite well. There's a nice masjid there as well.
Yeah, that's where I go.
You go to masjid? I've never seen you there.
Yeah, I've been there a few times. I've only just come out of jail, so I've been there twice now, obviously for Jummah.
Okay.
Okay. I've done my Nakar there.
So you just mentioned there, you just casually slipped into the conversation there that you just got out of jail.
Yeah.
Okay. I did know that because we had a very brief conversation before, but obviously the audience doesn't know that. So we're still in your childhood years.
Yep.
So now people know that you've been to prison.
Yeah.
So at what age did you start getting into yourself into bits and trouble and just, you know, whatever it was? Don't talk about too much of trouble you've done, but, you know, what sort of age did it sort of happen for you?
It started out 11 and 12
Young
when
then.
it when it started, like little trivial things, break a car window and run away, try to get the owner to chase you, silly things like
We used to just knock their door when I was
yeah, we used to do that as well, but
break their car windows.
yeah.
Straight, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, just knock the door and run away. Yeah.
Yeah, so when I saw the older kids doing it, and I copied, I was a sheep, you know. So didn't have a male role model to tell me this is not how boys behave. So
Well, we want to fit in with the crowd that we're
exactly.
in. I mean, people don't want to be stand out from their peers, do they?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
So
So 11 and 12. Okay. So when did it take a more serious turn as you got into your teens? Did you start to get more money orientated, or was it more violent oriented? I don't like I say. I personally don't want to talk about people's sins and crimes.
Yeah.
Okay, but just to get a build-up picture, because you mentioned there that you've been to prison, and we'll go into that a little bit. But I just want to know the age that you transition from what you call breaking car windows and running away into something that put you in an actual prison and custodial sentences. So what age did that start to happen?
15. That's when it really took off.
Okay.
Yeah. Greed. And to fit in, like you said, girls. You know, trying to prove myself that I'm this big man to other boys my age. You know, I wanted to be the toughest. I wanted to be the one people feared. You know, because at the start I didn't really like violence. I was afraid to fist fight people. I'd get shaky and that. I didn't realize that was adrenaline in my young head. I thought it was fear.
It is fear.
Yeah, so I tried to get that out.
There's nothing wrong with fear.
I mean,
you know, every fighter I ever knew.
Yep.
Get scared. Or
Of
if
course.
you don't get scared, you never get brave.
Yep.
You know. So, but fear is good. Fear is healthy. It's there for a reason.
But at that time, I didn't want it. I didn't want to feel fear. I just wanted to be invincible. You know, that young mentality. You know, I can't be killed. I'm you know.
That young man, invincible. The world will never end, and I will live forever mentality. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that feeling very well.
Yeah, and it stayed like that until a long time.
Okay, so you got involved in more serious crime at that point to prove a point to your peers, to show off in front of people, to be that, to get an image, to build up a reputation, to build up a certain,
and to prove to myself I'm not scared no more. You know, even though, like you
Why
said,
do you
fear is
feel
a
that
good
you
thing.
needed to prove that you weren't scared? I mean, because if you're getting chased by a bear or a lion or something, everyone's scared, aren't they? I mean, fear is a natural thing, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
I hope so, because I get scared all the time.
Yeah.
I'm scared of you right now, bro. You're being quiet over there, man. I don't trust quiet people.
I'm listening.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
So you've done all this. Now you started to get into a little bit more serious crime. Yeah. Without going into detail of the crime, but what age did you start get? Did you go to younger offenders, or you went to young offenders?
Yeah. I went to Aylesbury.
Went to Aylesbury. Yeah. Did you do much? Was it a long sentence there?
My first sentence was a life sentence.
Right. Okay.
I didn't do little bits in and out. I got one big one.
So it was one big one. You didn't test the waters to see if you liked it or not. You didn't.
I got arrested.
Do little bits, see if it's okay, and go back again another time.
The only cells I'd been in before that were police stations and courts, and I always got slaps on wrist, fines or not guilties, NFAs, and a walkout. You know, lack of evidence. I always got.
So you went from stuff that you could get NFA'd on. That's no further action.
Yeah, no further action.
Probably a lot of people watching do. Maybe some you can't take for granted that everyone knows what NFA means. It means the police, the CPS, decided that there's not enough evidence to prosecute, or it wasn't in the public interest to prosecute. So it's a no further action. Yeah. Okay, when you get that letter come through the post, you see an NFA. It's like, wow.
So you've had a few as well.
I've heard it.
You've heard it.
Yeah, heard it before, but how would you right? So anyway, moving on. So you went from that would be smaller crime, bro. If you get NFA, then
some big crimes they just had lack of evidence, you know, and it was a close calls. You know, I sat in paper suits in the cell thinking, oh please God, if there's a God, let them not find any evidence, and you know they'd come back. Oh, they knew I'd done it. I knew I'd done it. They just couldn't prove it, you know. And so I'd get walkouts.
So prior to this, were you going? So 15, still a young age. Most people are at school and stuff. So were you in secondary school? How was your education and stuff? Were you getting into trouble?
So I went to school. I went to school. So I went to high school one day out of a whole year, and just to say I'm here, and then I didn't go back. So the school got real fed up with that. So they started to put me in a college. They said, what are you interested in? I said, I like riding motorbikes and cars, because that time the school was notified that on the weekend I was stealing cars. So they thought, let's put him in motor mechanics. So they put me in. I ended up getting into a little scuffle there. They kicked me out.
Oh,
I tried a different one. They put me into carpentry because I like working with my hands. I like making things. Like my garden's full of crazy contraptions, and so they put me into carpentry. I had another scuffle. These are the times I couldn't keep my hands to myself, and so it didn't last. Hindsight now as a grown man, I'd have liked to have, see them succeed. I wouldn't gone down the road I might have gone down,
And
But
there was nothing
alhamdulillah.
else in the community to sort of help you or something like Darren mentioned an interesting thing. It's just boxing clubs and stuff. So
There's
I
a boxing club
remember,
up Ring,
so I remember when I was like 15, 14, 15, I started going to the boxing club. So I found like a community.
Yeah.
Was there anything there locally that?
Yeah, I tried. I done boxing.
Yeah.
I done karate. I done all manner of things.
Mm.
I did like the boxing, but my problem was I couldn't keep my hands to myself. So once I'd come out of there, I'd be fighting outside, and it'd get back to them, and I'd get in trouble. And eventually, like
What
everyone
boxing
does,
club did you go to?
Luton Shamrock.
Shamrock.
Yeah, eventually everyone just gets fed up with you. When you just don't, I didn't care about myself at them times, so I didn't care that I was getting kicked out of play. I didn't care, you know. Didn't mean there's no skin off my nose,
Did you have like a sense of purpose in life at that point, or nothing?
No, I was
No.
invincible at that time when the
Yeah.
world couldn't end. I couldn't be killed.
Mm.
You have that Superman complex as a child because you're young. You've got no life experience and no father or dad to tell you.
Was your mum by? Did she have a faith for Christianity? Was she atheist? What was the?
So we didn't go to church regularly, only at Christmas times. Like my nan and granddad are Irish, so they're Irish Catholics. So at Christmas time it'd be midnight mass, but I'd just be running around the church like a lunatic, creating havoc because I'd be bored. Didn't
So there's no like religious teachings or ethics in the house. There was no religious. There was no religion.
No, nah. I was taught right from wrong by my mum and my grandparents, but no religious,
but not from a religious view.
Nah.
Not from a. So there's no
Nah.
moral compass from
Nope.
religion or like that.
Nah, nothing.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
so you done a life sentence.
Mm.
How long did you actually spend in prison?
18 years, 9 months, and a few.
Was that with time off, or
No, I got my parole.
you got? So that was
I got my parole. Yeah,
your first parole.
not my first parole. My first parole was in 2008. My first parole, but I was messing
So
about.
what age did you go in?
17.
You went in at 17.
Yeah.
And they give you a life at 17.
Yeah, I got remanded for a year in it. So then, when I hit 18, then they give me the IPP.
Right.
Which is
Okay, so now obviously I don't want to talk too much
Yeah.
about crime, but people are going to be watching this and thinking, what did you do to get to do an 18 at 17 years old? So it must have been a serious crime. And I don't want you to talk about it if it's something that upsets you.
No.
We don't want to glorify sins and we don't want to glorify crime.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not it's not like saying I went to 18 months for car theft.
Mhm.
Also, you know what I mean? It's not a small thing. 18, getting an 18 stretch at 17 years old is a serious thing, bro. You know what I mean? And there's not many people in the country that get them sort of sentences.
Yeah.
Okay. So without going into detail, and I don't want you to talk about the crime itself, but what type of crime was it? I mean,
Violence.
it was a violent crime.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So I mean, like I said, I don't want to go in on that because it's a done thing now, isn't it? But what did it feel like at 17 years old when the judge recommended you an 18? What did he recommend? What was the actual original sentence?
So
It was an IPP.
when I walked into court, the barrister, you get a talk with your barrister before you go in and see anyone. So we sat in a little room like this.
Yeah.
And he said, I was 17 at the time. I was with my mum and a couple of my friends were waiting outside. So, I had that bravado.
Mm.
So I'm sat in the room.
I bet that soon went, didn't it? When he told you?
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, it really did.
Yeah.
And so he's like, this is serious. It's not a joke no more. It's not like you're getting your NFAs and your little slap on the
But he
wrist.
told you that at the door you're going to be sentenced.
Yeah,
Maybe
he told
you
me
should have mentioned
before.
that before that.
He told me before.
Oh, right,
When we
sorry,
walked
before
into
that.
the room, he said, you shouldn't be like puffing your chest out because this isn't a joke. You're in the big boy leagues now.
Well, if you was in Crown, I mean,
Yeah, I was in Crown.
Yeah, surely you would have known that it's a serious thing anyway.
I didn't take anything serious. That's what I said. Like, all that bravado and that Superman, I couldn't be sent to jail. Like, you know, I thought I'd get another walkout.
Right.
You know, and when he shut the door, he was like, "I'm gonna just tell you straight." He's like, "You're looking at 28 years plus," and I said, "That's longer than I've been alive." And he's like, "Yeah, you're playing with the big boys now. This is what you wanted. This is what you get."
And that's your barrister,
And that was my barrister.
Oh.
And I was sat there
He's
thinking,
honest at least.
and I was sat there thinking, 28 years. I'm only 17. That's longer than I've been alive. I was like, that don't make sense.
Mm.
He was like, mate, that's the starting point. I'm thinking, what? It only goes up. He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, I need it to go down. And he was like, let's just see what happens. And I was like, okay.
But he prepared you.
He
I mean,
prepared
had
me.
to
Yeah,
set the
it didn't
expectation.
sink in. But like, I still thought, in the back of my head, I still thought it's not gonna happen. Like, I might get a year max, probably. Like, so
I think when your barrister said you're looking at 28, a year's not it's not on the menu.
yeah, but in my head it
You're not
was.
going to go from 28 to a year.
Yeah.
Right? Your barrister probably knows a bit more than
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
But in
17-year-old.
my head, I didn't listen to no. I was all on my own free will. It was my way or no way. Innit?
So now you went into the court.
Yeah.
Right. It's still not sunken in.
Nope.
So this news that the barrister has just told you, you're looking at 28 and then maybe north of 28. Yeah. So you go into the courts now, and I want to take you back to that moment.
Yeah.
I want to take you back there. You're standing there at 17 years old, thinking that you're invincible, thinking that you're the big Charlie Big Spuds, okay? And then the judge says to you, what does he say? Can you remember the actual words?
I've got it still on at home. I've actually got the transcript.
So
I stood in the dock. Obviously, my mum was crying. I was stood there, like, just looking at him, and I couldn't really hear him because his microphone was terrible. So I was just getting bits and snippets. And he said, "Oh, we've got a new kind of sentence for people like you." And I was like, And he went, "Okay." So he said, "I'm going to sentence you to an IPP, or ISPP."
Can you explain for the camera what that means?
So ISPP is an indeterminate sentence for public protection. So it's a life sentence, and you set a tariff. So you can get a 1-year tariff, but end up doing 20 years in prison. There's 2,000 IPPs still stuck in prison now that I've just left. Some of my good friends that are stuck there that might never get out. So you get sentenced to 1 year, but that don't mean you're going home in 1 year. That means you can apply to come home in 1 year. So when the judge sentenced me, he said, "We're going to give you an IPP." And I was like, I didn't know what it was. So I was like, yeah, whatever. And he was like, "I'm going to set your tariff at 6 years." So I was like, 6, better than 28, isn't it? He went, and because you pled guilty as well, like today, he's like, we're gonna drop that as well. You're gonna get time off for your guilty plea. So I got a 2-year tariff. So I thought 2 years. I said, that's lovely. I started smiling. And the judge was like, "This isn't nothing to smile about." And I'm like, yeah, whatever, man.
You're thinking 2 years. You've heard 2 years now.
Exactly.
Right. And you just heard 28.
Exactly.
And now you've heard 2. So you've equated that you've already gained 26 years.
Exactly.
Off your sentence.
I was excited. I was like, yeah, I can do 2 years. It can't be that bad. Police cells are nothing. Never been to jail before. So I didn't have any expectations. So obviously I started shouting at the judge and that because I was excited and thinking I've only got 2. And then,
what did you shout at him?
I just called him some bad words, and yeah.
You really didn't know when to shut up at that age?
No, never.
Okay. Right.
And I wish I did.
Yeah.
And and then I started fighting with the security, so I got a little extra for that.
So what was you fighting about? I mean, surely he was in a good mood because he just
he
told
said,
you got 2.
Yeah, he said take him down, and then the security G4S guy grabbed my arm, and I didn't like it, so we ended up rolling around.
What do you think he was going to ask you nicely?
Well, I was expecting a nice, polite.
Rub down in a shiatsu.
I was expecting a cup of tea and a chit chat.
Okay, yeah. So he's given you an IPP and recommended 2.
2 years.
So you could have been out potentially
at 2 years.
So why was you there for 18?
Because I couldn't keep my hands to myself in jail either.
So you were getting into trouble into jail.
I had other cases in jail. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And just on that, on your crime. Were you convicted alone, or did you have other co-defendants that were on trial?
No, they said. So when I was arrested, they asked me, "Where's your co-defendant?" Obviously, there is no co-defendant.
Right. Okay.
We don't go into that.
Right. Okay.
I was sentenced.
And no one else was arrested with you. No.
Okay. So you didn't grasp?
No.
Right. Okay. So
did anyone else grasp or speak?
Yeah.
So someone. Okay. So others.
On me.
Yeah. That's the world. That's that world, bro. There's no honour.
There is no honour among thieves.
All these people are honour amongst thieves. There's not. They're not.
Nah.
We should never glamorise criminals.
No.
What we should do is glamorise people with taqwa.
Yeah.
Glamorise people with knowledge of deen. Glamorise people that do charity work. And glamorise people who look after their families. And glamorise people that do these things. We don't glamorise criminals.
I have a 17-year-old son, and he started to go that way. And I said to him that he thinks everything's gangster.
Could I just stop you?
Yeah.
You was in prison
Yeah.
for 18 years.
Mhm.
You've been out for
4 weeks now.
4 weeks.
4
Where
weeks
did the
Friday.
17-year-old
Yeah,
son come from?
it's my stepson,
Oh,
isn't it?
okay,
But
right.
obviously,
Sorry,
yeah,
I just need to put that in
yeah,
my
yeah,
head
yeah,
because I kind of guessed,
yeah,
but I didn't know whether there was
yeah.
some visits or I don't know.
No, no,
Oh,
no.
okay. Right.
That'd have
So
been nice.
yeah. All right. So
Yeah.
so
So obviously, I have a son, stepson, in it,
okay.
and
Alhamdulillah.
yeah,
So
alhamdulillah.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
I'm really interested in this. We'll move on
yeah,
and if we don't want to dwell on this,
yeah,
but
yeah,
the judge. He's given you IPP and a
yeah,
rec of 2,
yeah,
a recommendation of 2
yeah.
years. You've then started mathing off,
Mhm.
okay? But that's not what kept you in prison for 18 years,
No.
is it? Right. That's just you just
Yeah,
probably just
yeah,
got roughed up, a little bunch,
yeah,
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 moved around the cells a bit.
yeah.
Innit? Yeah, okay. Right. So you're in prison now. At what point did you go from 17 thinking I've got 2 years and make it into 18? I mean, was there no one in prison that could say, look, mate, you should have been out 2 years ago?
I went to young offenders, and everyone was doing life. I went to Aylesbury, so Aylesbury is the long-term young offenders. So everyone in Aylesbury had a life sentence or was doing over 10 years. So it was a children's jail with big sentences. It was the maximum security for young offenders, kind of, So everyone in there was doing over 10 years, so no one was getting out anytime soon. So no one cared. So we just done whatever we wanted. Everything was
But
normal.
you'd come out of there at 21
I came out there at 21.
and
Yeah,
you went to
I went to
adult prison. Right,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
But then there was still a lot of sentence that you had to do.
yeah,
So did you carry that over from young
yeah.
offenders? So you did something in young offenders that carried over to your,
Yeah,
or did you keep getting into trouble?
I kept getting it. I was a problem inmate, and they bounced me around the system.
Right. Okay.
I didn't settle down till I was 31. I'm
Right.
36 now.
Okay.
How was that? I always think, well, I've never been to prison, right? But what was the first night like when you found out, when you got sentenced and they took you in?
So I speak to loads. Obviously, I've been in jail. I speak to we talk about stuff in jail. Obviously, inmate to inmate. Everyone says their worst night was the first night.
Yeah.
It wasn't for me because it hadn't sunk in. I still didn't know what. I thought I was going home in 2 years, so I was laughing. I didn't know I had to go for parole. I didn't know I had a life sentence. It didn't sink in. My sentence didn't sink in until 2007, end of 2007. I got paperwork under my door that said you're eligible for a tag, so you can come out on a tag. Anyone that's crime ain't seemed like that, you get tagged. They gave me it by mistake, so I filled it out and give it back to the officer. He come back a couple of days later laughing, and I was like, oh, I must have got it. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going home even better, quicker than 2 years. I'm going home. And he's laughing. He's like, why did you put this in? I said, you lot posted it. He went, yeah, it was an error. He said, you can't get tagged. I said, why not? He said, you're doing a life sentence. I said, no, I'm not. I'm doing 2 years. What are you talking about? He's like, yeah, you're IPP. He said, on the system, let me show you. He took me down to the office. He logged in onto this little computer, and next to my name, it said sentence, and it said 99 years. Because that's my maximum sentence. They can hold me for 99 years without releasing me. That's my end of sentence is 99 years. But my start was 2 years. I didn't realize that. That's when it sunk in. And then it started, then all the emotions come, and I was thinking, I'm not going home. Then I was going to see like probation officers and psychiatrists and psychologists were coming to see me to do all these courses. I had to do loads of courses. I had to jump through all the hoops to get out, to get parole, And that's when it sunk in a little while after. Yeah, it didn't sink in. I was just creating havoc, doing some ridiculous things.
So when you say it sunk in, that was after how long?
1 year and a bit.
So after a year, so let's say a year and a half, yeah?
Yeah.
After a year and a half, the realization of what you was dealing with and what you was actually facing hit you. But you still played up.
Yeah. I still played up and angry at myself. But,
Why was you angry at yourself? For putting yourself in
there? For getting in there, Like, at that age, you're a young man, The world revolves around money and women, I weren't getting none of that in there, and I wanted some of it, and I was like, oh man, I'm going to be here for a long time. Like, I started getting angry at myself. Why did you do that for? Well, you should have done. And then I start replaying it. You should have done this. Like after I ran away from the crime scene, you should have done that. You'd be out now. You start going over it and over it and over it, which is pointless because you can't change nothing. It's done. Yeah. So you do that because you've got nothing but time to think in jail. So you think of all sorts, different scenarios. You play them out in your head. I lived inside my own head for 5-6 years, daydreaming on a prison bed.
I mean, it's obviously, when you do the sort of sentence in prison that you've done.
Yeah.
it's changed you as a person, no doubt. You don't know who you would have been if you never went to prison. I mean, the person that you are now is very different to the person that you might have been if you'd have stayed out, got a job, got married, had a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a different type of thing. How much does that play on your mind? What could have been?
What could have been, and my honest talk is, if I didn't go to prison, I would have been dead now. That's my honest belief.
If you'd have carried on.
If I
life.
didn't get sentenced, I would have been dead by now, or done
Dead,
something.
dead at the hands of another criminal.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
And or worse, I think prison saved my life. I think Allah sent me there for a reason.
Well, Allah's plan is the
Exactly.
perfect planner.
Exactly.
Okay, it doesn't mean to say that we don't make mistakes.
Yeah.
We make mistakes, but Allah's plan is the ultimate plan.
Mm-hmm.
But if you committed a crime, you're responsible for that.
Exactly.
Not Allah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, did you become Muslim in prison, or did you become Muslim out of prison? I mean, did you? How long have you been Muslim? Sorry.
2007.
And when did you come out?
2024. Yeah.
Yeah. So you become Muslim. So now, when you become Muslim in prison, okay, did that calm you down? I mean, did that?
No.
It didn't calm you down.
For a little while it did. About a year.
Mm.
I was a bit more level, And then it just
Did you
went
become?
up again.
I mean, because look, there's going to be some people that watch this podcast that say you only become Muslim in prison for the protection.
Yeah, I hear everyone saying this.
The Muslims are supposed to be the primary force in a prison, and if you become Muslim in prison, you're supposed to get looked after, or you're part of a wider gang or a wider community, so you're safer.
And get nice food apparently as well.
Well, I don't know. I don't think there is nice food in prison. Not a hotel, but we don't get upgraded. You know what I mean?
That didn't come in until real late. That's a new thing. When I become Muslim, that weren't about like protection and all that. There was hardly any Muslims were in the jail that I was in.
Right.
I stumbled across Islam by trying to bully someone. That's how I was introduced to Islam.
By the person you were bullying.
Well, I tried. I was at my cell window, and my cell window faced the exercise yard.
Right.
And every morning, the imam would walk across with his little leather briefcase across the exercise yard.
Right.
One morning, I was awake, and I saw him out the window. And he'll admit it himself, he's the spitting image of Bin Laden. And I shouted out my window, "Oi, Bin Laden, where you going?" Expecting to draw him out and get into a confrontation at the window for a bit of excitement. And he turned around and started laughing. And I'm like, I didn't get the reaction I wanted. I wanted a rah, rah, so I could go rah, rah, rah. Then my door opens 5 minutes later. He stood there. I'm thinking, oh no.
It really is Bin Laden.
And I was like, oh, how's this gonna go? And he was like, I do look like him, don't I? And he's laughing. I'm thinking, this guy's not wired up correctly or something. And he said, what do you know about Islam? I said, I know that you're all terrorists, innit? And he was like, really? I was like, that's what I heard. And he's like, why don't you come to the mosque and find out for yourself? Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, you want to take me to the mosque, yeah? Try and get me jumped by a load of Muslims. I was like, all right. So I went there prepared,
What did you have? I mean, like, just mentally prepared?
Homemade weapons.
Okay.
And so I went there ready for war. And it was nothing like what I thought it would be. I walked in, obviously I took my shoes off and that, because I saw everyone like without their shoes on. And they all come up hugging me. Oh, what's happening, brother? I'm like, I'm not your brother. They're like, we call everyone brother, man. We're Muslim. What are you talking about? They thought I'm a Muslim. They was treating me like a brother, and I was confused. I was like, these ain't like what I thought. Then the imam's like, come sit down. So I sat there, and they all surrounded me, and I thought, oh, here we go. And they was all like patting me on the back. Do you want some sweets? Do you want some attar, perfume? I'm like, I'm okay. And they was like, so what do you know? Like the imam said, like, tell me everything you know, innit? What do you believe in? Obviously, I didn't really believe in anything, but I said Christian, innit? Just because it's just one of them things I said. So he got the Bible, and he started saying, so is this the word of God? And I'm like, I think so. Like, yeah, it's the Bible, innit? It comes from God. And he was like, you know the contradictions. Oh, brother, look, how can God make mistakes? And I started thinking, like, so if God created like everything like humans and our bodies work and function, nothing's out of place in our bodies. It flows, our blood flows. That didn't happen by accident. So something's created it. So if God can create this and the universe in perfect harmony, how's this book got mistakes? Then I started pondering that question, and he let me ponder it. He sent me back to the wing. He's like, go on, you go think about that. And I was like, okay. So I went away back to my cell, and like in jail, you got no time. You got all the time in the world to think. I started pondering it. Then I had questions. Then I started finding myself putting my name down for the Islamic classes. and it slowly progressed. And then the Imam showed me how to do wudu. The brothers would talk to me with debate. I'd run ideas across them. Then I started getting these sheets with Al-Fatiha on it, in Arabic, and started memorizing that. And I didn't even take my Shahada by then. I was still just studying. I didn't want to rush into anything. And so I was just studying for, about probably about 6-7 months before I took my Shahada. I memorized my whole Salah before I took my Shahada. And and then Eid coincided with just before my Shahada, so I got to experience that, and the love that I saw in the masjid in a prison. I never saw love like that on the wing. The wing was a violent place, everything was really violence. But in the masjid, there was no bravado. There was no one puffing their chests out. The biggest brothers, arms like my waist, just their tears coming down because they're happy. I've never seen that, and I thought this is where I should be.
And which prison was this?
Aylesbury.
Aylesbury
Yeah.
as well. So you were still there.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
And so at that point, no one's forced you. No one's put. And I suppose it's a good lesson we learned from that brother you interacted with initially.
Yeah.
Of the importance of good character.
Absolutely.
Right. So because he could have ignored you, but instead he took that negative situation, turned it into something positive.
Absolutely. And this is how I try to live my life today. I don't want to leave people with a bad taste of Islam in their mouth. So I treat everyone how he treated me. I smile. I don't be rude.
Which is the sunnah of the Prophet to behave in that way.
Yeah.
The best dawah is the character. The smile is it does miracles sometimes. And just a smile changes everything, innit? So you took your Shahada, but then you said you calmed down for about a year, and then you started to play up a bit.
Yeah.
What brought about the re-change back into the old ways then? I mean, why did you go from taking Shahada and learning about your religion? Did you move prisons, or
no?
What was it?
Still same prison. So prisons change. So on a wing, you could have a good wing for a couple of years. Then people go to other wings, people get moved around, and you get a new influx of new inmates. And one bad inmate can ruin a whole good wing, and that's what happened. We got an influx of idiots. And, to counteract them, the boys that had been on the wing a long time, we acted up, and obviously it escalates, and it always does in prison, to violence. And, once it starts, I didn't stop, and, it kind of went like that for another 7 years.
So your wing was disrupted for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah. Well, I was disrupted.
I mean, let's be honest here. But was it the wing or was it you?
It was the wing.
Because
I was doing well.
Because we couldn't. I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm not calling you a liar or anything like that. But sometimes in life we tend to blame situations for ourselves, innit? So it's not me. It's the job I had. Maybe it's not me. It's my wife. It's not me. It's where I live. But a lot of the time it's you, mate. If there's a situation, you're 50% of it. You know what I'm saying? So if there's a problem in your life, you're at least 50% of that problem. Yeah. In that situation. Yeah. Okay. So what we tend to do, it was the wing, it was our job, or it was my family, or it was my, it's always something the way it's not you. But 7 years, bro, is a long time for it to be something else without it being anything to do with you. So like I said, if it was 7 weeks and you had a couple of idiots on the wing and you had to I don't know, something happened on the wing and you had to do stuff, but it was 7 years. It was not 7 weeks. How much of that realistically do you think was maybe you was to blame?
Yeah. So when I was totally calm and that, studying Quran, memorizing Quran, then the idiots come on. Then we acted up. Then obviously they got moved about. We got moved about. Then from there on, then it was me because I wasn't near them. But my behaviour escalated and continued and continued.
You went back. You regressed back into the old you.
Yeah.
So how long did that take? Because, like I said, when you said 7 years, I thought, right, 7 years is a long time for you to blame the wing, innit?
Yeah.
So you was okay for a year. You was calming down. You're learning your deen. Alhamdulillah, you was like, Islam was starting to, because you know what? Okay, it takes years for Islam to come in. To absorb it.
Yeah.
Initially, we absorb a lot at the beginning. It's like it's a big change, but then it has to settle down. You have to really absorb the deen, and that can take decades for that to happen. I mean, or it may never happen completely. I mean, we always struggle in it. We always have
of course.
issues in our religion where we could be better. We could be praying more, learning Quran more. We all fall short. I mean, I'm talking about myself more than I'm talking about anybody. Okay, so you had this period there where you was learning and new in the religion, learning your religion. Some people come on, disrupted that environment for you. And then it was a period of what? How many months would that have been the case?
What, that they was disrupting?
Yeah.
Probably, 2-3 months maybe.
So let's say
3 months
okay.
max. Yeah.
Let's say 3 months is a max, yeah. But that was enough time for the shaitan to sort of pull you back.
Oh yeah.
You know, like in Godfather, as soon as I get out, they pull you back in.
Yeah, he pulled.
Yeah, and I think maybe that was once it happens, it happens.
Yeah,
right?
see, I think back to this quite a lot. Like literally what you just said, the shaitan pulled, and what you said about the deen sinking in. What my mistake was is I tried to become the perfect Muslim, and there's no such thing. And I was like trying to remain sinless, and when it weren't going my way, I was getting a bit upset, you know. Like I'd miss Fajr, and I would beat myself up to the point like it was ridiculous.
But this is the thing that new Muslims suffer from.
Yeah.
A lot is that new Muslims they want to do everything at once, and they want to be,
and that's exactly what.
And then they get upset, and this is the thing that the shaitan. This is why new Muslims need older, more experienced Muslims around them.
Absolutely. Because
you kind of come into the deen and you want to do all of this stuff, and then when someone sleeps in or miss something or says something, you know, some sin of some sort, and then they get wound up, and then it's mate, and then the shaitan's like, well, if you can't do it, you might as well not do it.
Exactly.
You know, if you can't do that, then why are you doing any of it, mate? You're a hypocrite. You can't do that, and you want to say that you're Muslim in front of all these people. That's one of the tricks that the shaitan uses, is that, you know, if you can't do it all, mate, don't do any.
Exactly.
Okay, but none of us are doing it all.
No.
You know, none of us are doing all of the Islam, and then all of us here, you know, I'm talking about myself before I talk about anybody, is falling short in many different areas. But this thing is take your time. You know, Islam is a journey of life.
Yeah.
You never complete it except for when you're dead. You know, there's no finish point where you've qualified, and now all of a sudden you're a Muslim, like perfect. No, it's a step by step. And sometimes when you become, I know because I've been a new Muslim. I've been a Muslim for 27 years. Okay, so and in the beginning, that was my frustrating times. I went into this group, went into that group, you know, involved myself with these, involved myself with them, and then you overwhelm yourself, and then you act really pious for a while. But you can't go from that and act. It is an act, because you're looking for a new identity. You're looking for a new you. Now I'm a Muslim. I can't be me. Yeah. I have to be a new me. A Muslim version of me.
And I needed that more than ever, a new identity, because of the life I was living. I couldn't maintain that. So I needed a new identity.
So you adopted an identity. And when that was a struggle for you, and there was options to get violent again and options to get aggy with people, you took them. And the shaitan said, you see, that's you. That's who you really are. Okay? So you adapted it. But what Islam actually does, brother, okay, is you become the real you. It washes away, like the wudu, it washes away the crap that you've built up and learned over the years, and you're left with who you are. Okay, instead of adopting an image like a caricature of a Muslim, you should just absorb Islam and be you, without the crap, you know, without the swearing and without the bad attitude, you know, whatever it is, you know, without the bad things that we all do. Okay, and that's the thing that new Muslims get caught up in, is that they think that they have to reinvent themselves, and that's hard. Because I looked at myself in the mirror one day and had a long beard, mashallah ta'ala. It's wajib to have a full beard. This isn't a full beard, okay? According to most schools of thought, okay? I had a beard down here. I was dressed in a thobe. And I looked at myself, and one day I thought, who are you? I don't even know who this dude is in the mirror. You know, I didn't know myself. And I started to have an identity crisis.
Right.
And that's when the shaitan catches you. And that's when you need brothers in the religion that have been in it a while and can literally put their arm around you and talk you down a bit. And I think there's a lot of pressure from new Muslims to behave like that. And then, like for you was in an enclosed environment where you had pressure points that you could use. Like there's, I can get
excuses.
You have pressure points. You could, you know, I don't want to say the word blow up. On this, you know, that literally you could use. Okay, that's when you said 7 years. And I thought that weren't 7 years of people being on the wing. That was 7 years, 6.5 with you. Okay, and I knew the reasons because I've lived them. Okay, I wasn't in prison when I became Muslim. But I knew that it was that. But you know, brother, we should never put that pressure on ourselves. Sorry, but I'll let you jump in. No. We should never put that pressure on ourselves as new Muslims or Muslims generally, that you have to be perfect. Because Allah said, if you were perfect, He'll replace you. Okay. So all the thing is, we just try. It's the journey, is the effort. Not the you know. That's it. It's just Islam is an effort, a journey of effort, and every day is an effort. You know, and it starts with Fajr, and it ends with Isha and sleep, inshallah. But I'm glad that eventually you learn that. You know?
Yeah.
Sorry, but you wanted to say
No,
something.
no,
Go on,
I was
Nabil.
going to, because Dowie mentioned an important point, just in terms of being around people who maybe been Muslim for longer, or who can provide that support. So was there that, did you have that support in prison from maybe people who had become Muslim, or were Muslims for a long time, or imams or things like this, to sort of give you
Yeah.
some guidance, or were you just, were you
So
become Muslim and you're left to your own devices?
nah. So in prison, obviously, it's all bravado, innit? Everything's fake in prison. Yeah, you have to
Mm,
put you have to put on a mask to survive prison.
mm,
So when you try to go to other inmates for support, unless like you're real close with them, you're not gonna get it. You're gonna get gangster stories and stories about drug dealing and stories about money and all the glamorous things about crime. Apparently, that's what you're gonna get. I've heard 1,000 stories from 1,000 people, and it ends the same way. So you'd only see the imam twice a week. One on Jummah, obviously we have to go to that, and an Arabic class on a Thursday, but sometimes it'd be cancelled because of security reasons. A fight would break out somewhere and the staff would have to go to that, so we couldn't get our Islamic study, and that happened a lot in young offenders. There was a fight every day or a few fights every day. So and when you do go to Islamic class, there's so many people there trying to get to the imam. You've got to wrestle your way through. Everyone wants to bombard him with questions, and he's only one man,
mm,
but so I was kind of left to my own devices a little bit. So I spent, in them times there, it was 23-hour lockup. So 23 hours in your cell, yeah. Half hour exercise, half hour association or shower, whatever. And so I started doing my own thing in my head. Like I told you, I lived in my head in prison. That's how I survived it. I lived in my own head. So I started thinking about the perfect Muslim, right? Sinless, can't do this. And then, as a young man, sins, and even now, sins creep in. It's a part of being a human, you know. And I'd get real down, like the brother said, beat myself up. Then I'd look for a pressure point. Oh, he looked at me funny on the landing. It's
mm.
a way of releasing your frustrations, and that continued for 7 years. And
And when you became Muslim,
yeah,
another question actually just came to my mind. Obviously, you mentioned you done the initial crime,
yeah.
and at that time, maybe you didn't. Did you have any regrets at that moment that what you've done? For what you initially got sentenced, because I was going to say,
So
when you
yeah,
become a
yeah,
Muslim,
yeah.
did those regrets, did they start kicking in?
So my saying in jail was, I don't regret the crime. I regret getting caught in it. That was my
Right,
saying.
yeah.
I used to always, when people used to ask me, do you regret doing it? I used to always say that I regret getting caught, not regret doing it.
Mm,
But now I'm an older head on my shoulders. Of course I regret. That's someone's son.
mm,
I have children. How
mm,
would I feel if someone did that to my son? I'd be
mm,
devastated. That's someone's child.
mm,
And how do I know that he ain't Muslim now? Now he's my brother. Now I have
mm,
to love him, you
mm,
know? So this is why I don't use violence no more.
mm,
I don't even recognize that person that I was,
mm.
and I don't like to talk about
If
it.
you could, sorry, I'm going to jump in because
Go
I
on,
want to
bro.
say something. If you could go back,
Mm,
I'm going to say,
SubhanAllah.
you now could go
Yeah,
back and talk to that 17-year-old you.
mm.
Tell me what you tell him.
I don't think there was anything that I could have told him that would have sunk
No,
in.
you got him here now.
Oh,
You
okay,
are sitting
right.
here,
All right.
but not really. But you are
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
17-year-old
Okay.
version.
Yeah, yeah,
What are
yeah,
you going to say to what would you tell yourself? Now, because you're older now, you're mature. You've just
yeah,
expressed
yeah,
maturity, regret, remorse,
yeah.
and everything else. That things that adult men and compassionate people feel, and 17-year-olds are too young and stupid to understand. Okay, but that 17-year-old you is sitting across the table from
Yeah.
yourself now, and he's just about to do that. What are you going to say to him? Because you're going to say this to someone else's 17-year-old right now. That's why I'm asking you. Because there's a 17-year-old out there that might be watching this, inshallah, and he might have
Inshallah.
been you then. Like he's now you then, okay?
Yeah.
And you've lived that. The worst possible scenario of that is that you went and done 18 years of life
Mm.
with a whole load of living in your head and everything else that go with it, right? Okay. So I want you to benefit that 17-year-old you via somebody else. So
Okay.
if you can,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
would you tell him?
yeah.
What would you tell yourself?
I'd tell him the reality of it. My crime was a knife crime. You know, knife. A knife to me was like taking house keys out. It was with me every day, and eventually I used it. I would tell that 17-year-old, you don't want to be like me. That lifestyle, that the elders tell you about, that you hear in drill music, that you see in videos and online and social media, it's a facade. It ain't real. Because when you're in jail, them girls ain't gonna come and visit you. Them boys ain't gonna be spending none of that money putting it on your canteen sheet. They're not gonna come visit you either. You won't even get a letter, because I didn't. And these boys, I was doing mad violent crimes for it. I didn't get one letter in 18 years, not one letter. You know, my mum come and visit me. She was the only one that had my back. You know, so that lifestyle is a lie. It's a facade.
How much pain did you cause yourself?
Untold.
How many times did you cry yourself to sleep?
I've lost count. I lost count.
So if that young 17-year-old running around with a knife now, he's you then. Now, like how you was then.
Yeah.
He's living that now. He's gonna have to cry himself to sleep in a prison cell for years.
Yeah.
And then he's gonna get to an age that you're at, and he's gonna regret everything that he did.
Yeah. And more.
And then some.
And then some. Yeah. I can tell you now, no matter how much you cry in that cell, that door ain't gonna open at 2 a.m. when there's no one shouting out their doors. And because in jail we shout outdoors at night. You chat to your mate down the landing. You shout out, or you shout under, or you shout out your window. It's called window worrying. Yeah. People go sleep in jail. So when it's that quiet time now, like Fajr time, you can hear a pin drop throughout the whole prison. That's when it hits you like a ton of bricks. That's when you realise, no matter what I do now, that door ain't opening.
You're not in control.
You are not in control of nothing. Your nightlight gets turned out. Like, you know, in YO, if you didn't tuck your t-shirt and you get a week in the block. I'm talking old school. It don't happen nowadays. But when I went to jail, if your t-shirt was untucked, you done a week in the block. That was it. You didn't have your own clothes sent in. It weren't a life of luxury. You had prison issued clothes, and you want to hope the man that had them before you was clean. You know what I'm saying? Because them washing machines, they smell like feces. So I lived like that for 4 years. I lived feral in that jail, you know. And if that's how you want to live, then carry on pretending to be a bad boy, because I promise
you would do it differently,
that I wouldn't be.
It's an obvious question.
Yeah, of course
but
I would. Yeah.
I'm trying to impact, because you've lived this experience. So from you living this experience, I want that to have inshallah, a positive impact on someone not to live that experience. Because you could have been a mechanic, or you know, like, because you was into, like you say, into fixing
There's
things.
so much I could have done.
There's so much you could have done.
And I didn't get a chance,
but at that point there, you couldn't even turn your own light off.
No.
You couldn't even buy your own clothes.
I couldn't even get my own toilet roll.
You couldn't even get your own toilet roll. That's gangster. That's gangster.
Real gangster.
So if there is a 17-year-old, I don't know what camera's on, but if there's a 17 or a young guy, is it that one? Yeah. If there's a young guy, listen to this. Okay, just listen to this, because you're gonna have to. You potentially would have to live that. It's not gangster to not be able to buy your own toilet roll, is it?
No.
It's nothing hard about that. There's nothing tough about that. You know what I'm saying? And you're making yourself cry, someone else parents cry. It's just devastating.
That's what hits me the most.
Yeah.
Is when I think about what I done to that young man.
Yeah.
Because we were both 16 at the time, you know. And I replay it in my head of what I did. And it wasn't even just him either. I done my crime outside Tesco's up the road there, that big massive one where everyone shops. There was kids about when I done my crime, and it was that horrific that an elderly lady, when she saw it, she passed out because of the blood. And that's how horrific my crime scene looked. And you know,
so that's mentally scarred
a lot of people.
No one's going to really care that it mentally scarred you.
No, of course not.
There are other innocents that got mentally scarred from that. So the ripple effect is
phenomenal.
Now, alhamdulillah, you're a Muslim, brother. Yeah? So Allah's forgiven you.
Of course.
But the ripple effects carry on.
Of course.
Yeah. So if anything comes out of this, this is a podcast, is it?
Yeah.
Right. If anything comes out of this podcast, okay, I want it to be that your experience of 18 years could stop that from happening to somebody else. Someone else standing outside a shop being traumatized. Someone else's son or daughter being.
The reason I've come here today is like Brother Dowie said in it. It's not to glamorize crime. I've lived it. I've done it. I've done crimes that I haven't been caught for. I've done some crazy stuff that I could glamorize it, but that's not what this is about. And I'm not that kind of person. I don't like what I did. I regret what I did. The reason I come on this podcast today is if I can save one life by telling my story and telling brothers exactly how it is. I'm not here to lie. I'm not here to blow smoke up anyone's backside. I'm telling these young kids straight in it. You pick up a knife, eventually you're going to use it, and you will go to jail and you will go through what I think, or get killed. Yeah. and you will go through what I went through, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
I went to a janazah a couple of years, I think it was a year or two ago, I'm not sure now anyway. It's one of my friend's sons got 16, he got killed, okay? And I'm standing at the janazah with my son, at that time was 16 or 17. It was a couple of years ago now, so my son's 19, so it might have been two years ago. And obviously the father standing at the side of his son's grave, breaking his heart, while, obvious that that's, and I turned to my son and I said, that man could be me. You know what I'm saying? That man breaking his heart could be me. That could be you, and I could be me. That's the reality of it. That's the reality. Is someone will never be the same. Someone's son is taken away, and someone's family will never be the same. And that's where it goes. Now, alhamdulillah, let's lighten this up a little bit, brother, okay? Because I'm getting emotional. So now you're Muslim, alhamdulillah. So let's talk better times, okay? You're a Muslim now. How is your life now, and how you're out of prison, alhamdulillah, and you're living a clean life? How much different is it now? I mean, because I'm assuming it couldn't be more different. Okay.
So just before I got out, you always envision what you're going to do when you get out. Don't even bother, because it ain't going to go that way that you think. It's nothing goes to plan. I had all these plans of what I wanted to do, and I ain't done one of them yet. And so my life now is unrecognizable. I am so grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for every day I'm alive now, and my life, I got married Sunday, just gone. SubhanAllah, brother was there.
What was I?
You weren't invited.
I wasn't invited, was I?
The Royal Mail's held up the invitation. And so alhamdulillah, so I'm married now. So now, that's a big thing for me. Obviously my children growing up now. So that's another big thing for me. Obviously I'm in a bail hostel at the minute because I'm on license for the rest of my life. So I've got 2 tags around my ankles, so I'm not fully free yet. I've got to be in at 8 o'clock. So I'm not fully free yet, but I'm free. I can go to the shop and get a toilet roll. I can lock the door and go for a toilet without people watching me, and I can turn my own light off and get in my own bed and get in nice soft sheets and not ones that smell of urine, and it's phenomenal. Like when I first got out, it was surreal. It was really surreal. Like smartphones, I didn't really have a clue. Like in jail, we had little Zancos and that, I didn't really have smartphone. So I was still learning the ropes with technology. I'm not on any social media because I ain't learned how to use it yet. But alhamdulillah, I'll get there.
I wouldn't get too excited about social media. There's only one channel worth following.
Streets to the Deen.
Two channels, sorry. 2 channels worth following.
But since you've come out, or even during your time in prison, did you manage to speak to the victim's family, or
no.
You can't do that?
I go back to prison if I do that. On my license, I can't contact the victim or his family, and I don't want to. That's the past now. And if I was to, and say now he's still got resentments and he attacks me, then I'm, we don't need that.
You don't need that.
So alhamdulillah, Allah forgive me for that. He goes his way, alhamdulillah, I go my way. Inshallah, he accepts Islam one day. Inshallah, I'll hug him and shake his hand and salam him, and I wish him all the best. I've got no ill feelings against him for ringing the police or any of that. I don't resent. I've got no resentments against him or his family. Just going to state that. And I don't resent probation, even though I'm on it for the rest of my life. I do get upset with them. Like the other week, I threw my toys out the pram. But my life today is unrecognizable to my life then, and I don't want to regress in it. I'm trying to progress, and when I come out, I ain't seen any old associates because I'm trying not to. But obviously, that's not my life no more. I met you. I talked to you on the phone now. I met the other brother over here. I've met this brother today. I'm surrounding myself with positivity. Allah says if you've got 9 bad friends, you'll be the 10th. If you've got 9 good friends, you'll be the 10th good friend. That's how I'm trying to live.
Company is key, bro.
Absolutely,
it really
absolutely.
Is. Absolutely. Hanging around when I first become Muslim, there's always that old loyalty to your non-Muslim friends and even family. Okay? But and obviously it's a shock to them that you're now Muslim. You was before you was whoever you was, and I was whoever he was, and they still think it's a phase. They just got to grow out of this. We're bored of this. We'll finish with this at some point, and we'll have our dowry back, or we'll have our whoever he was. Sorry, what's your name?
Abu Bakr. Ross.
Ross. We'll have Ross back. But there is no compatibility there.
Nope.
You're either giving them dawah or they're giving you dawah.
Yeah.
That's it. There is no compatibility in the middle. There's no middle path.
No, there
You're
ain't.
either influencing them towards Islam or they're influencing you towards Jahiliyyah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's one of the hardest things that I mean. I've spoken to many new reverts, and I said the hardest thing that you're going to get is breaking them old chains of loyalty to these people. The only time that you can really hang around or spend time with these people is if you're giving them dawah.
Yeah.
And that could be with your manners, that could be with your character, it could be with your words, or
Yeah.
hopefully it's with everything. But you definitely can't be them influencing you.
No.
If you're not influencing them positively,
You've got to
then
break away.
they're influencing you negatively.
Yeah.
And protecting your iman at any cost.
It's crucial, yeah.
It's very crucial.
Absolutely.
So you're in masjid. I don't know where you're. I don't want you to tell us where you live because
I'm not far from there.
Okay, so it's a nice masjid. It's my local masjid. I'm surprised I haven't seen you.
Yeah.
Stay attached to the masjid, akhi.
Of course.
You know, brother, because the masjid is like the fallopian tube that connects us to life.
Yeah.
You know, without that, you know, I mean, I've got a health and fitness channel. It's called Al Rijal, right? But if you're going to the gym more than you're going to the masjid, you got your balance wrong. Okay, you go to the gym 3-4 times a week, alhamdulillah, no problem. It's a responsibility to keep fit and healthy and everything else. You need to go into the masjid every day. And if you're not and your balance is out, bro, you know, you're going to the gym more than the masjid. What's going on? So keeping attached to the masjid is, I can't even stress enough. Go there for Isha, go there for Fajr, go there for something, you know, but go there because it really is the place.
Where I'm in the bail hostel, I've got to be in every 3 hours to sign a book.
Yeah, I understand,
but if I went in there, I'd be there every day. Like, you know, because I know that's my anchor.
It really is. And it is for, look, it doesn't matter how long you're in the deen, bro. No. It really is.
Yeah.
It's why it's wajib for men to go to the masjid. You know, it's not for nothing. It's because it really is that no matter how long you've been a Muslim and how much you think you know, being in that environment and praying in the Jamaat and the barakah in that and the feeling of that, that is the key. I mean, if I could say to anything to a new Muslim, attach yourself to the masjid and good friends, and just take your time. It's not a race, mate. You know what I mean? Just plod along. Just keep doing it. Yeah. Just keep doing the same thing because that's what works. Yeah. The basics is where you get basics in life is where you get 90% of your progress. Yeah. And that's no different with deen. It's no different with training. It's no different with anything. Your career, if you master or you stick to the basics and you're consistent with the basics and go into the masjid and praying is basics. If you're sticking to that, you're well on your way to succeeding in anything that you do. You know. So I'm really happy that you're married now, newly married. That must have been a relief, bro, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cool. How many kids?
So we've got 8 kids. Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8.
You've only been out how long?
Nah, yeah. Obviously, I've got 2 children of my own that have grown up now.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, and obviously stepchildren. But obviously, I class them as mine because I'm the only man they've known. So
yeah.
But yeah, so I ain't really been doing much this last week. Obviously, been busy boy. But my 5 daily salahs is what's kept me humble since I've been out because I set alarms on my phone. It seems like every hour is like it's going off, like you know, because I'm doing so much. My brain's not, you know, I'm not in jail watching the clock. I'm out here doing stuff. So time's just quick, and then I hear bring. I get excited. I'm like, oh, salah time, oh, quick, and I run to my bathroom. I do my wudu quickly, and when I come out after wudu, I feel different. I'm just like, wow, like, I feel fresh. I feel vibrant. I feel like I've lifted weights. I've been to the gym. Like them dopamines are going. Then I pray my salah. My wife prays behind me. That's a new experience, I can tell you. I've never been so nervous. And I've led salahs like with 30 big grown men behind me. I was more intimidated with her behind me. I was thinking, oh, don't get it wrong. Please don't say that. Like, you know. But yeah, so we're just enjoying that at the minute. But
being married is 50% of your deen. So and your wife is now your responsibility. As you know this, brother. I'm just saying. We all know. But your wife is your responsibility, and there is no barakah. I promise you, mate. Having a good Muslim woman to be married to is the best. Yeah. You cannot compare relationships. This is what annoys me about this whole red pill thing: is they're comparing non-Muslim relationships to Muslim relationships. You can't compare the two. I've had Muslim marriages, and before that, non-Muslim relationships. They're not the same. They're not the same sport.
Nope.
They're not. They're just not the same thing. But if you have a good Muslim wife and she's praying behind you and you're living this Islamic life, bro, alhamdulillah, you are absolutely blessed. You are rich. You are a rich, alhamdulillah, wealthy man with things that money you can't buy. I'm happy that that's the turnaround. You know, that's you've gone from not being able to buy your own toilet roll You know, not just crying that crying yourself to sleep,
Yep.
to leading your wife in salat.
Yeah.
So, brother, we're going to wrap up.
Yep.
Because I think we're ending on a good note, a very positive
yeah.
note, with you being married, you're leading. Because I'm happy now.
Yeah.
Okay, I was a bit upset before. I get myself emotional.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
I was going to ask you for some tissues and a hug, but alhamdulillah, we're in a good place. So you're in a good place. I'm in a good place listening to you, and I'm sure we all are. So you're married, you're praying, you're out, you're doing all this great stuff. I wanted to give some advice out there to two different groups of people. Firstly, to the non-Muslims, just keep it nice and simple for them. What would you advise the non-Muslims? Because at the moment there's a lot of misunderstanding and there's a lot of hating on Islam.
Yeah, there is.
There's a lot of gaslighting out there.
Yeah.
There's people that let's blame them over there. Your life's crap, and it's their fault. But look over there, it's actually their fault.
Yeah.
Because they're Muslims. Yeah. Don't worry about the multi-billionaires that have been taking your money for decades. Don't worry about all of the governments and the rich businessmen that have been sucking the country dry like vampires. You see that Muslim over there? It's his fault. I know he owns a shop and he's paid his bills and he's paid his taxes for the last 50 years, but somehow it's all his fault. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of that going on, bro. So as a white Muslim, and what advice? Because you've been in the deen now for some years, in the religion for some years, inshallah. What advice would you give the non-Muslims? Because a lot of them are easy to jump on that bandwagon.
Yeah, of course they are. Yeah. Hating's easy. It's harder to love. And I'd say to non-Muslims, everything you think about us, I thought myself. I thought we was all terrorists. I thought we was all this and all that. And no, I had no respect for Islam. And the way you're feeling, I felt. Just learn. Pick up a little booklet, learn, Google it, Google Islam, Google something about it. What is Allah? Put that in Google. What is Allah? Who is Allah? What is what's Prophet? The deal with Prophet Muhammad? Type it in Google, and even if you read a few lines, alhamdulillah, that seed's planted.
Do you know what would be good as well? If they actually went into a masjid.
Yeah.
I don't think. Yeah. I think people, because I say to Muslims, to non-Muslims, I say to Muslims, I said. The reason that non-Muslims don't go into a masjid is because they don't feel they can.
Of course they can.
You know what I mean? They don't feel like they can. It's like it's not. And I say to the Muslims, no, you can go into a masjid anytime they want. It's open. I said, okay, bro, you're Muslim, innit? You're a Muslim, aren't you? Innit? What am I talking about? I am taking education lessons. I am. Don't laugh. Right? I am.
Alhamdulillah.
I'm very conscious about how I speak. Anyway, so. I say, you're a Muslim, aren't you? Yes. When was the last time you went to a synagogue? Never. Why not? I don't think I'd be welcome. How do you know?
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't be. But I mean, when was the last time you went to a church? I don't know. I've never been to a church. But that's how they feel about the masjid.
Yeah.
They feel the same way that you feel about a church. They feel that about the masjid. Like, what would happen if I went in there? Would I be attacked? Would I be asked to leave? Would I be shunned? Would I be looked at? You know what I'm saying? So the reason why Muslims don't go to a church, because maybe they don't feel like, one, why would I go there?
Yeah.
Who would I talk to? What would they say if I went in there looking like a Muslim?
Yeah.
Is the same attitude that non-Muslims have about masjid. So we have to do a better job of inviting them in.
Yeah, we do.
Come in, man. Sit at the back and watch us pray. And then leave. We don't have to bombard you with questions. And we don't just sit there, watch it. No one's terrorizing anyone in here. We're praying, we're prostrating, we're humbling ourselves in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then we're getting up and we're leaving. And you can just get up, watch that, and leave.
Yeah.
Subhanallah, there was just a few days ago, there was a revert brother. He's reverted recently, and he wanted his nikah done. So his father-in-law, who's non-Muslim, he was saying, look, shall we do it at community centre? Just so that he's easy. I said to him, look, if he ask him if he's happy, we'll do it in the masjid. And he asked him and he said, okay, look, I'll come. Subhanallah, he came and you witnessed the nikah. So both the couple got married. Afterwards he was in tears. He goes, I'm married. He goes, I'm Catholic. Because I've never been so moved by a ceremony like unlike this one. And he said afterwards, he said, look, can I come back to the masjid and speak to you guys privately at some time, right? And so I was so moved. He's like an elderly gentleman. He lives maybe 2 minutes from the masjid. But like you said, no one's ever asked him, look, let's just
this is a whole podcast because this is really something close to my heart. What you're saying. We have this feeling and this thought in that white people don't want to be Muslim. So
everyone's
people don't invite them.
Yeah.
That's why I say go to the masjid. Yeah. They're just as moved as anyone else. You know, they're just as connected. They just don't feel part of it. And then he wants to go back to the masjid now.
Yeah, he said
he wants to go back.
He said to us, he spoke to the imam. He said, "Look, are you all right if I just like come back another day?"
So he asked the imam whether he's allowed in, basically. Would I be allowed in without this going on?
And he's like, "Look, come. We'll have tea, coffee, and get some food. You come whenever you like, but." We've got to open those doors, break down those barriers.
Yes, please. Yeah, that would be nice if you could do that. Or we could do that. And you know what? I want being a white Muslim in this country not to be anything special. Yeah. You're a white Muslim. Wow, but I want it to be like, you're a white Muslim.
See, I've heard a lot of things about that white Muslim. White Muslims, they're more serious.
I want it to be normal. I want it to be like there's loads of us, and we're all one big happy family, and it's nothing special. You're a white Muslim, so what?
We should what can we do about it then? Let's just have after this podcast, let's have a brainstorm, and there's 3 of us, 4 or 5 of us here. Surely we can put something together to welcome people in.
Well, we do. I mean, we thought of it before you got here, you know. What I mean? So it's not. But what we need to do is what you're doing. Yeah. This podcast like this help because now your face gets out there. That's another white face that's out there talking about their experiences, and all of us need to just make an effort that everyone else should be given a chance. And this is what I said about going into the masjid, and inviting them in because they don't feel like they're welcome. Like that, he said, he asked the imam, can I come back? But the imam could say no. No, you're not allowed back in here, mate, in whitey. You know what I mean? But, they do have that conception that I'm not allowed in here. This isn't my thing. Which is why when they see a white Muslim, how did that happen? That's why you're a traitor. You're a this or that. Anyway, that's another podcast. Maybe we should sit down and do that. We're trying to wrap up. So now, that was your understanding. So it's easier to love. It's easier to hate than love, which I think is very powerful. And now, just say something to the Muslims, inshallah, about anything that you want. And then I think if you wanted to recite a bit of Quran, that's totally down to you. We're obviously you're a new Muslim. We all make mistakes with our pronunciation. I've been a Muslim a long time. I still make mistakes. So even if you do make mistakes, don't be conscious because it's not. We're not testing you on it. Okay.
It's not an exam.
No, it's not an exam. So say something to the Muslims, inshallah.
Okay, so the young brothers at like 17 that I was put down the knives and get a wife. That's the best thing I've done,
It took you a long time to
learn
that.
Took me a long time, Don't be like me. You don't want to live that life, I can promise you.
There is Muslims out there running around with knives. Young, like, playing that game, living that life.
Then they're going to learn the hard way like I did.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Worse for them because they're Muslim.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because when you're a non-Muslim, you have an excuse maybe that you don't know, that you're jahil, that you're ignorant, that you don't understand. When you're Muslim, you know. You don't kill people, don't stab people. It's not like you have the ignorance as an excuse, so it would be worse. Okay, bro, so that's the message to the Muslims, which I think is, from you, you're more than qualified to say that. If anyone that I know is qualified to say that, I think you're up there as one of the main guys. Yeah. Okay, now, if you would like to recite something, it's up to you. I mean, don't feel pressured. No. We're just going to moan if you don't. But if you'd like to say something, then, if you'd like to recite something, Akhi, then it'll be a pleasure to hear you recite some Quran, inshallah.
Al-Fatiha?
Yeah, bro.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
It's been a pleasure. We haven't met before today.
No.
So it's been a pleasure talking to you, brother, and meeting this brother.
Yeah.
And, okay.